It was the year 2003, popularly known as the year when music turned dark with the overwhelming release of Evanescence's Fallen album. For Marco Antonio Barrera, it was the year when his brilliant destiny took its own dark shadows as he faced one of the greatest legends of all time in boxing, Manny Pacquiao. Welcome. In today's video, we will travel back in time to revisit a fight where it was do or die. A true Aztec warrior facing a relentless Filipino war machine that would not relent until mercy was begged for, in a twist of dark despair. Get comfortable, because one of the most grim battles in the history of world boxing begins here. Pacquiao debuted in 1995 on January 22nd in a fight scheduled for 4 rounds, winning by unanimous decision over Edmund Ignacio at the end of the bout. Although it could be considered an unremarkable start, the many victories he accumulated in his early years, contrasted with his scarce defeats, eventually made him a rival to be reckoned with. Barrera, a native of Mexico City, had the strongest weapon any boxer could possess running through his veins: Aztec blood. After his debut on November 22, 1989, where he won by technical knockout in the second round of a fight scheduled for 4 against David Felix, his impeccable streak of victories quickly earned him the supreme tricolor crown. Therefore, when his fight against Manny Pacquiao was announced, thousands were betting on his victory. The day arrived, November 15, 2003. The Alamodome in San Antonio, Texas opened its doors to receive 2 fierce fighters in the ring. Pacquiao entered the ring with an imposing professional record of 32 victories, only 2 prior defeats, and 1 draw. 28 of his wins had been violently achieved via knockout. In the other corner stood Barrera. His strong record of 57 wins and only 3 losses, with 40 of those victories by knockout, made him the favorite for many more than just his compatriots. If neither claimed victory before the 12 scheduled rounds, it would be up to judges Ray Hawkins, Gail Van Hoy, and Glenn Rick Crocker to decide the winner. With Lawrence Cole as the third man in the ring, the fight began. First round. With the opening bell, surprises began to explode in the minefield that was the ring. Both fighters tested each other's guard, seeking the chance to get ahead of their opponent from the early stages. After a hesitant left, Pacquiao fell face first to the canvas. While it couldn't be said to be a hit that hurt him in any way, he received Cole's standing count. At that moment, Pacquiao realized it was a misstep, an error he wasn't willing to make again. The round continued regularly, with Barrera dominating the center of the ring and Pacquiao defending his stance on the edges. Second round. The Filipino Titan came out to the second round, adjusting his offense. While Barrera's left hand aimed to keep him at a safe distance, Pacquiao's right hand was thrown like a cannon. Barrera connected some good combinations, but Pacquiao followed closely, never stopping his movement around the ring. Slowly, the Filipino flag rose above the tricolor. Third round. Barrera's wounds were real, and he entered the third round looking worse off than his opponent. Still, the Aztec warrior aimed to maintain dominance at the center of the ring. That's when Pacquiao showed who was controlling the fight with a fierce right-left combination that left Barrera sitting on the canvas. Barrera got up to continue, but the center was no longer his. Defending himself from the limits, he moved just enough to avoid facing Pacquiao again. Fourth round. Barrera started the round cautiously, unable to afford another lapse in his guard. Orbiting around Pacquiao, he threw his left only to remind himself of his stance. Pacquiao took advantage of the art of patience, gradually escalating his offensive. As he neared the breaking point, the Aztec had no choice but to openly move around the ring. In the final seconds, a real explosive exchange took place. Fifth round. Barrera resigned to giving up the center of the ring. As he moved around the ring, Pacquiao followed him like a predator stalking his prey. When he closed in, the Filipino was relentless. Barrera seemed to attack only to avoid inactivity. The Aztec needed to return to his corner with a change in his fighting style if he wanted to stop advancing towards an imminent defeat.
The second punch is coming out of a different place this year.
Sixth round. Half of the scheduled rounds began, and the wounds on both fighters' faces showed just how tough the fight had been so far. The confidence Pacquiao had built over the last few minutes was taking a toll on Barrera, who couldn't stop retreating. Whether from fear or respect, the Aztec engaged in brief exchanges before continuing to move around. Less than 15 seconds before the round ended, Barrera fell to the canvas again. A left uppercut caused this new fall. He immediately got back up, and the bell gave him the time needed to reflect. But he would need more than that if he wanted to reclaim all the ground he had ceded to the man who was, round by round, becoming his executioner. Seventh round. At the start of the round, Barrera showed his bravery by trying to become the aggressor again. However, Pacquiao's counterattack pushed him against the ropes, where a deadly barrage of punches rained down on his body until Cole called for a timeout. The bleeding over Barrera's left eye became more prominent, worrying him about his ability to continue the fight. With the ring doctor's approval, the fight resumed. But now, Pacquiao had a clear target to aim for if he really wanted to hurt his opponent. Eighth round. Barrera stretched out his left hand, trying to keep Pacquiao at bay. Still, Pacquiao delivered some of the deadliest combinations of his performance in the fight, those that test even the endurance of a true Aztec warrior. Towards the end, Barrera repeatedly grabbed Pacquiao by the neck, a provocation that would come at a price sooner rather than later. Ninth round. Against all odds, but with great excitement in the venue, they entered the final quarter of the fight. The struggle back in Barrera's corner was to keep his wounds in check, while Pacquiao still seemed to have much more to offer. Still, Barrera struck first, driving the Filipino war machine back until it crashed against the ropes. With this precedent, the brutal exchange of blows began. Only Cole could stop what seemed like a runaway train, penalizing Barrera by deducting a point for hitting foul. When the fight resumed, the Aztec didn't seem as interested in regaining that aggressive fighting rhythm. 10th round. Barrera's wounds worsened, and Pacquiao showed no interest in showing mercy. Between movements and clinches, Barrera tried to minimize Pacquiao's attack opportunities as much as possible. Even so, the Filipino Titan had enough energy to chase him down and connect at least one good punch from time to time. Probably, it was a good idea to change focus and fight to survive until the end of the scheduled rounds. However, the fight's outcome was just around the corner. 11th round. Barrera came out of his corner thinking he could once again escape Pacquiao's attacks. However, he only cornered himself on more than one occasion. While Manny kept fighting for victory, the tricolor was only trying to survive. It seemed like it would be an uneventful round until Pacquiao, furious, once again knocked Barrera to the canvas. Cole counted, and Barrera got up at the count of 6. When the fight resumed, Pacquiao pounced on him, hoping to finish the job. Immediately, Barrera forced a clinch. In the final 30 seconds of the fight, Pacquiao's punches chased Barrera's body and face like heat-seeking missiles. By the time they forced him to stop, against the ropes, an intense barrage of Filipino punches created a real Dantean scene in the ring. Unable to continue watching as his fighter was being massacred before his eyes, Rudy Perez climbed into the ring, prompting Cole to stop the fight immediately. Due to this abrupt and desperate twist, we can only wonder what would have happened if Pacquiao had been allowed to continue his attack for those last few seconds. If you've made it this far, thank you. Remember that the best way to support my content is by liking the video. Do you think Barrera had any real chance of beating Pacquiao in this fight? And yes, in this fight, because later on there was a second encounter between the contenders. But that's a story for another video. Would you like to revisit it? I'll be reading your comments.